In this video, you'll be seeing how to run regressions in RStudio, or basically R. What R allows you to do is customize to a greater degree what you want to achieve in your econometric model, or how you want to customize your data, something that's not possible in most prepackaged software. Although we're not going to see a lot of customization in this video, we're just going to see the basics of running a regression to get you started with R. First, I'll go ahead and get your data. We'll be using the height and weight example. So I've downloaded my Excel file. Right. While this is opening, let's go to RStudio and start a new script. So over here, you can see it says new file, so new R script. So in RStudio, this is where you are going to be writing and saving your code. This is actually the R terminal, and this is where all your codes are being run. Okay, so here, this is where you're going to see your output. Any error messages, it will show up here. This is more of an editor. Any variables that you're going to have, your data set, this is going to show up on this side, and then you have additional functions on this where you can see your plots, packages, and files in your working directory. What I usually do before I start any script, I start with a clear message so that anything that was previously in the memory, it would clear that. So list is equal to ls, and then all equal to true. You see me type it over here. Usually I don't type it. Usually I'll just copy paste it from a previous code. So once you have it down, it's easy because in the future you can just use the same code, right? So this function, this key over here, run, once you enter it, it will run the current line or the selection. So if this is your current line, it's going to run that, right? So that's where your cursor is. So you can see that this is where your editor, this is where your codes are, but you have to give the command to run them, and then they are going to run in your R console. Okay, so now that we have that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to load the data. The Excel file that we just downloaded, I want to see, I want to load that data in RStudio. So to load the data, what you need to do is you need to move the file to your working directory. Although you don't have to do that, it's easier if you have the file in your working directory, it's easier to open it. If you don't have it in your working directory, you would have to give the entire path of where the file is located. Right? So how do you know what is your working directory? So for that, you can just type in get wd and then parentheses. Let's run. So there you go, that's my working directory. It's users, OneDrive, documents. Okay, so I know where that is now. So once my file is downloaded, let me take that and move it to my directory. So OneDrive, documents. Okay. Right, so I have it here. Let me rename it. It doesn't have. When you have a file, there are certain best practices to follow. One of that being don't have any spaces, so or special characters. You can use underscore in place of space, but that's about it. So I have my file now. You can also see in RStudio, like if you're under files and you hit home, this is actually my directory. This is the same folder where I got my file from. So you can see that I have the height, weight, or HTWT1 XLS file here. Okay. When you are writing codes, be patient with it. You are likely to make a lot of mistakes. It takes me 3, 4, sometimes 20 times to write a line, because it'll keep on giving error messages, and that's completely normal, right? So just be patient, go back and see if you had mistyped anything, or if it's completely not working after many attempts. What I do is I start Googling different codes to do the same thing. Okay. All right, now that we know the directory, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to open the Excel file or import the data from Excel file to R. And to do that, we are going to need a special package called Read Excel, which allows us to read Excel files. So if you go under packages, right, and you put install Read Excel. There you go. Install, and then you're going to get a lot of messages saying that it's being installed. You might receive a lot more messages than I have because it was already installed in my computer, so you might be seeing a lot more commands down here. Okay, so now we have the package, so let's call on the package. So to call a package, we use the function library. So library and then quotations, read Excel. Right, so let's run that. There you go. Now we have the file. You'll need to follow the codes carefully and be careful of quotations and parentheses. So this part over here, what you see in this is a function library. Get WD, this is also a function. RM is a function. So these are pre-programmed functions or things that the codes have been written already for you, so which makes it just easier. You can just call on the function and it's going to do the thing that you want it to do, right? So you cannot change these things. I'll show you in a bit. There are certain names that you are in complete control of, that you can change. You can put any name that you want in that place, right? I'm just going to put this at plot so it's less distracting. All right, so now we have called on the library. Let's go ahead and import our data. So this here, I'm going to just, very creative of me, I'm going to call our data. So data is equal to, and this is your function. You can put any name over here under what I have written as data. You can put any name that you wish. But this is the second part that we're doing after the equal to sign. This is a function, so it has to be exactly this. So read Excel, you can see that RStudio is already giving me options. I'm going to use read Excel. Okay. And at this point, you're going to type in your file name. Remember, the file has to be in your directory. Quotation mark, and it's case sensitive, so type it exactly the way it's written. So HTWT1, and then don't forget to add the extension XLS. These are in shorthand. Okay. So now that we entered this command and ran it, you'll see something on the data side. On data, you have data, which has 20 observations of 3 variables. You can double click it to view it. So this is the observation, X and Y. If you go to your Excel file, you see it looks exactly the same. Okay? So it has opened the data. All right, now we have already got the data, but we need R to read them as variables. So a common practice is after you have loaded your data to use the command string. This will show you, I don't know if the full form is string or structure. Let's just say str. It's a str and then whatever name you have used over here. So I've used data. So I'm going to put data, and this, what it does is it allows you to see a bit of the data. You can double click in and sort of see all the variables that is, but over here you can see that these are all numbers. Observation is a number, X is a number, Y is a number, right? If it's pre-programmed as text, it will show you that it's strings and so on. Or if it's just whole numbers, so integers, it just shows you the way, what is the format of the data. All right, so now that we have seen what the data looks like, let's go ahead and attach the data now. So this command is attach data. What this does is now you can just type in the variable name as it's written in your Excel file, and when you call that, R is going to read it the same way. So maybe let's show you first what happens when you don't attach a data. So our variable is X, you can see over here, right? So if you call on X, nothing, it cannot find it. There is no such object as X. How about Y? No such object as Y. But once you attach the data, right, so now we have attached the data. Let's run these lines again. X, there you go. It now shows you the values of X, and it has an object set up. And then Y will show you what those Y's are. So all the variables, you don't have to go back and save them separately with a name. They will automatically be saved with the same name as you have in your Excel file. So now we have attached the data. The next part is to run the regression, right? So to run the regression, we are going to use the function lm, but we need to give a name for our econometric model. So again, you can give any name that you want, right? But I'll be extremely creative and I'm going to go with model, right? So model is equal to lm, that's the function, and I'm just going to show the very basic elements of this function. You can do a lot more with it, but at this point we just need to know how to run a simple linear regression using OLS. Okay, so start with Y. So lm, Y, and the sign over here, X. That's it, right? Let's run that, and that's it. Your regression is done. It doesn't show anything, but if you type in model and try to see that, there you go. So it calls the function, that's the formula. You start with your Y variable or your independent variable, and then followed by your independent variable. Okay, so you have your coefficients, your intercept of 103.397, and your coefficient for x, which is 6.377, right? So you just see the basics coefficients here, but it's a far more powerful function, and you can do a lot more with it, and there's a lot more saved. So let's go to help. Let me see, I've already loaded that, and then you can put in LM, and it will show you all the things that you can do with it. We just use the first argument, so LM, and then these are all the things that you can put to put conditions on your regression and sort of customize it. Okay. So the first is the formula, that is the regression that you're going to be using, what variables are you putting in there, all the model specification. There is more, you could attach data to give exactly, so that it knows exactly which data to use. In our case, we didn't need to do that because we had already attached Y and X. Right, so there are subsets because they're often like testing that you can do with the same data set. You'll split it and then use one for training and use the other for testing, assign weights, and many other different things that you could put within that function. Okay. What we are interested is in here, what are the things that you can call using the regression that you just ran. So you can see you can call the object, call these objects coefficients, residuals, fitted values, rank, weights, degrees of freedom of residual. So we'll just focus on these over here, the first three. Okay. So let's call on a few things. For instance, if you want to see, you can already see the coefficients over here. Let's say you had to call and you just wanted to see the coefficients. That would be coefficients, thank you. And then in the parentheses, you would put the name of your regression model. In our case, it was just model run. So it shows you the coefficients. But what you could also do, and this is sort of a square bracket, if you put in 1, it'll show you the first observation. Right, so everything is saved in the form of a vector or a matrix. So this is the first element of the matrix. So you just get the intercept. Right, if you tried the same thing, so Control C, Control V, so copy paste, and then let me just type in 2. And there you go. You just have the coefficient for the x variable. Okay. And these are sometimes used in formulas. Say you just want to create a formula using the intercept or using the slope. This way you can just call the variable, the estimate that you need without having to see everything else. Let's try the residuals. So residuals of model. Okay. I made a mistake somewhere. This should be an S. Okay. There you go. Those are all the residuals. But say I had to see a specific residual that I'm interested in seeing, the residual of the 4th observation. Let me see an R. Okay. So the residual of just the 4th observation is 18.0778. So let's try to see the fitted values. So the same way you can put fitted dot values, fitted dot values model. Run it. Those are all the fitted or the estimated values. If you want to see specific fitted values, so you can rewrite that as values, say this 8th one. So that's the fitted value for the 8th individual, right? You could also use Y8 to see what the actual weight was. The actual weight of individual 8 is 165 and your fitted weight is 160, right? So there you go. You can now run a regression in R. You know how to read an Excel file and how to look up coefficients, residuals, and fitted values using R. Okay. And let me quickly show you what this function does. Now you see there is so many, like all these things that are in the global environment or in your data, and the next time you open up R, they might still be at the background. So it's always best to start your code with this so you can just run it and it clears everything. Okay. When you're trying this, try typing it, but if you want, you can copy paste the code and try to follow along, but it's best if you at least try to type it out to see what kind of errors you're getting. Okay. Don't forget to save. So once you're done, file, save as, and you can save it at any location that you want with any name that you want to put in. Okay, so running regression. Okay. So the next time you're here, you can directly open, maybe from recent files. You can open up